In this video, I'm going to show you the process, the plays that will ensure your child gets the 504 or IEP that they deserve, frankly, the one that they need so that they can be successful at school. Hi, I'm Kyle. I'm a longtime special educator turned education professor, but my most important job is being the dad with 3 kids who all have their own unique challenges and, yes, have their own individual plans that we have worked together with the school-based teams to collaborate on so that they can be successful in school. And it really is the number one reason why all 3 of our kids have had amazing growth over their years at school. So in this video, I'm going to teach you the process of what we have done to ensure that our children get those plans in place that will help them be successful. And so when I teach you this, I want you to understand the whole process is going to start well in advance of your IEP or 504 meeting. But yes, there are some things that you as the parent can do by working and communicating with the school in advance that will help your child get the plan that they need that's going to help them be successful. So what I'm going to tell you about is the process that parents can go through. I've shared this with many, and I want you to know the whole thing starts well in advance of your IEP or 504 meeting. So let's say, for example, you have a meeting coming up in May. That means you need to start working on what I'm going to share with you earlier in April. If you backtrack a whole month, that will give you enough time to put some of these plays in place and communicate what you think will be helpful with the school-based team. So that way, by the time your IEP or 504 meeting comes around, you've already established some communication on things that you think your child would benefit from. It will make the meeting go smoother, but it will also help to nudge that school-based team along in the areas that you think your child needs work with. This is not a plan of mind manipulation between you and the school-based team. It's more like a plan where you work on giving them some gentle nudges towards the things you think will be most beneficial for your child. So at least a month in advance of the meeting, what you need to do is identify the key areas that you think your child needs to work on for improvement. Now, I will preface this and say, please be reasonable. School-based teams are not going to be able to give you the moon. They've got hundreds of kids. You've got one. So whatever you're looking at, please be reasonable when you offer up suggestions to the school. But what you want to do is find the things that you think your child needs to work on, and we're going to target those areas. For example, if you have a child with ADHD, we're going to figure out what the target areas are that they need to focus on. In other words, what are the areas they need to improve on? So let's start with what we would call on-task behavior. On-task behavior means maybe an inability to stay on task or focused for an extended period of time. Very common for kids with ADHD. However, if we're going to move the needle with your child at school, they need to have something specific that addresses how we're going to improve that area. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to find some accommodations that will help. You might even have existing accommodations already in an IEP or 504. So ask yourself, are those successful? Is your child successful with those accommodations? And if the answer is yes, then maybe you just continue with those. But if you're not so sure or your answer is no, then you're going to want to go through this process, because what we're going to do is we're going to find the accommodations that we think might be helpful, and we're going to share it with the school-based team. And in the end, the school-based team will be happy because we're doing a little bit of work too, and we want to work together as a team. So what I need to do now that I've figured my target area, I'm working on-task behavior, the ability to focus for an extended period of time on a task. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to find accommodations, not just any accommodations and pick them off a list, the ones that are individualized for your child, the ones that you think will work best for your child. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into ChatGPT. You can use any AI tool. This will work with just a regular Google search as well, but I'm going to use ChatGPT for this example. When you go in, you're just going to do a regular search and you're going to type in something along this lines. We're focusing on attention to task, right? On task behavior. So I'm even putting in like the grade level of the child. So what are some accommodations that would help a second grader who struggles with sustaining his attention to tasks? And let's see what comes up. So it's going to generate a list. And as I look through this list of things, there's going to be quite a few things that you don't think would work for your child, and that's okay. The idea here is it's list generating, it's giving you ideas because you may not know the ideas right off the top, and you might look at this list and you're like, "Ooh, hold on a second. Fidget tools. I hadn't thought much about that. I know that my son, when he has something in his hands, he's able to focus a little bit more. So now that's not just necessarily where we can stop. We could just say fidget tools, put it on our accommodation sheet and say, yes, there we go. But what I can do is actually go a little bit deeper now. And let's figure out maybe some fidget tools that might help. So now I'm going to go a little deeper. So what I'm going to do is create a list of fidget tools to help a second grader with ADHD to sustain their attention. So let's see what happens. I also put this in there, by the way, because some teachers aren't big fans of using fidget tools that might be extra distracting. So maybe if we can find something that's not quite as distracting, but still would help your child, then everybody might be okay with that. So let's take a look and see what we're going to dive deeper now and see what comes up. So we've got spinners, we've got cubes, we got tangle toys. I don't even know what tangle toys are. Twistable, smooth plastic toy that we twist it. Ooh, that might be perfect because it doesn't make a lot of noise. It's something small. So I might want to do a little bit further research on that. You get the idea. So you can get an original list from your first search and then dive a little bit deeper in your second search, and you'll get some ideas that will hopefully help your child. And you're going to take those ideas and you're going to put them onto this accommodation sheet, the organizer. And this organizer is what you're going to share with the school. So now that we've targeted and figured out specific accommodations that you think would be helpful, what do? Well, we're going to email those suggestions to the school a month in advance. And I say a month for a reason. School-based teams do not just whip up drafts of IEPs and 504 plans, especially IEPs because they're usually more extensive. They don't just whip them up like the day before. This is something they develop over time, specifically over the course of a few weeks. And if we're out ahead of it, like a month in advance, we also may be able to give them the information they need before they start that draft. And they're going to know already what you as a parent think might be helpful. So they might take that idea and implement it into the IEP or 504 plan immediately. And even if they don't, they already know where your mindset is as far as what you're hoping for changes within the 504 or the IEP that you think would be beneficial. So once you email it to them, you want to make sure your email is very respectful in nature. Remember, it's part of working together as a team. We want to make sure we've got a good relationship. Don't tell them, I demand that you put this in. Emails can be sticky sometimes. It's why in my mini course that I offer, I actually gift emails, copy and paste emails to my students because I want to make sure that they know how to communicate with the school. And sometimes creating an email can be tricky sometimes. You want to make sure that you communicate in a respectful way. So the overall idea here is if you're out ahead of it a month before your meeting, you provide some information to the schools. Generally, they're going to be happy about it. You've done a little bit of extra work for them too, because it's not just what the school wants. It's not just what you want. It's what everybody works on together. They see your child at school, you see your child at home and also in the community doing activities. Everybody's got something to offer, and we work together. It's beneficial. So if you want to know more about this whole process and even the email plays that go along with it in my mini course, I'll put a link in the description and also pin it in the comments. Feel free to check it out. But I'll also link a free copy of the accommodations organizer. I'll put that down there as well. You can grab onto that, find the target areas, write down your accommodations, share it with the schools, and your child will start to move towards more success because of the plans that you and the school team have worked on together. But before I jump out, I want to give you one last pro tip. If you're a month in advance sharing that information, you can also request a draft. Maybe you can get a draft copy of the IEP or the 504 sent home early, maybe a week, so you can have a day or two to just digest what's there. These things that I talk about make the IEP and 504 meetings go so much smoother. And school teams know it. That's why they enjoy this kind of interaction. They don't want to have IEP and 504 meetings that go for hours and hours on end. They don't have that kind of time. So when they know what you're hoping for, it makes the whole process go much smoother. So you requesting a draft ahead of time is very reasonable. But again, if you send the email requesting a draft, please make sure it's respectful in nature. It's all about collaboration, people.